Yo, 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 another guitar lesson for you guys. Got a question here from Carrie. I'm trying to figure out how to loop a chord progression and improv over it. I've recently become more fluid over 24 frets with the E minor and C sharp minor pentatonic blues scales. Thanks for the helpful YouTube videos. Well, thank you, Carrie, for the question. Yeah, looping a chord progression. One of the best things about a looper pedal in general, to me, is that you can practice improvising over chords. So basically, you got kind of your own rhythm guitar player. So if you haven't done any looping, I'm just going to assume you haven't done much looping. And I'm just going to kind of go from square one. So starters that you want to be aware of is going to be, first of all, it's extremely important that you lock in your rhythm. If your rhythm's not locked in, it's going to be very apparent, and the loop pedal is going to be extremely frustrating. It might be frustrating even if you do have decent rhythm, because the loop pedal will expose any kind of rhythm problems you have. If you're pushing and you start the loop and you're pushing, in other words, you're speeding up. When you hit that loop pedal, it's going to come back to what you started with, so it's going to sound like it slows way down. Or if you drag when you start and you start slowing down, when you hit that loop pedal, it's going to go back to the beginning and it's going to sound like you're speeding up. So I would really encourage you to check that out. Just try looping maybe one measure or two measures, then maybe three measures of just a chord. So for example, if I chose, I think you said E blues, so this E dominant 7 chord here. So I'm going to try to get, I'm kind of don't have a very good setup here, but I think I can handle this here. So if I'm doing like this kind of feel, so that's just 2 measures of E. And now you can do that for just starters and play some blues licks over that. And that's not going to give you a blues progression, but that's going to help you develop your rhythm. Because if you can't get 2 measures to loop, you're going to have a real hard time getting 12 measures to loop. So maybe just kind of add a few measures each time, maybe 2, then 4, then 6, eventually get up to 12. Because for a blues progression, you're going to want to loop 12 bars. And I'm going to assume you're not familiar with the exact chords to play since you're asking the question. You may be, but I'm not going to make any assumptions here that you know anything. So, E dominant 7. So if we're doing E blues, you want E dominant 7 for the first 4 bars, then A for the next 2 bars, then E for the next 2 bars, and then we got the B7 to the A7 to the E7. Okay? And this is important to know. This is just a standard, very foundational blues progression, and it gets the job done. If you want to sound bluesy, if you want to play blues for somebody, and you play that progression and you play some blues over top of it, no one's going to question what kind of genre you're playing. Everybody's going to know you're playing the blues. Obviously, from there, you can get fancier with different chords, some chord substitutions, things like that, but I wouldn't be worried about any of that right now if you're just starting out with this looper thing. So if you want to try, if you're struggling with the loop pedal, trying to get it to be in time, just use your metronome. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so I can kind of show you how this works here. I'm going to set mine at 90. Okay, so that's going to serve as my guide here. Now if you're playing you know, in front of people live, the metronome might be a little tacky, and you're probably not going to want to do that. So this is just something you can develop over time. So I'm going to play this, loop this for you, and just kind of show you what it looks like, what it sounds like. Starting with that E7. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. There's the A. Going back to the E. B to A. All dominant 7 chords. Here's the loop. That's the top. So, and that's another thing. You got to hit it right on the top. You got to stop. You got to stomp on that loop pedal right. Now I like to play through it a lot of times too. Just keep playing it, but stomp right on it. And this is the stuff you got to practice. So now I've got my form going here, as you can hear. So here comes the top. So my E minor blues. Four chord. Back to the E. There's that B. A. So I don't think you really need to hear me play the blues much, but that's just kind of the basic form that you want to be aware of. That's the chord progression. And I don't know how to stress this so much. You'll probably find out. You just got to practice, and you just got to try it out. You're going to find out if the loop is sounding funky. You know your rhythm's a little off. Okay? And just, you know, be patient with it. It's kind of like you're also hearing, if you're not used to it, you're hearing yourself for the first time. If you've ever heard yourself recorded, like your voice recorded or something like that, even if you're just talking, it can be a little jarring. So when you hear yourself being played back in the loop, there's a lot going on there you got to get comfortable with. You got to get comfortable with how you sound. You might not sound as good as you think you do. And then you got to get comfortable with your rhythm. Like what, you know, you're going to have to check yourself basically. I've taught a lot of students the loop pedal, and it's almost always a wake-up call in some kind of sense. It's like, oh, especially if you're developing your lead playing and you're not focusing on your rhythm playing, which is natural because lead is a lot of fun. So the great thing about the loop is you get to support yourself, and you'll find out real quick whether or not you're able to do that. And as you cultivate that and you practice, guess what? You'll be able to support other musicians if that's a situation you find yourself in. So great question, great exercise. Hit me up just let me know what you think about this video. And you know, you can always hit me up for one-on-one Zoom lessons. I do private lessons, and I can answer your questions directly. But I hope this helps. Peace out.